Okay, I'm re-recording this whole series because I did it way too in depth, and it basically just became for me, for my own trading. So I'm going to jump all the way back to the basics and just do the simple setup, my simplest setup, and kind of the simple setup that Nuke showed in I think his first entry video, which is just, you close a low. Let's say your bias was down or something, you would trade here, just take that down because this low closed, meaning it's kind of validate that whole move. Once you get the push back up into that range, that's where you can look for your trades, and that's kind of my simplest setup, or his simplest setup. It's the one I used for a long time in the beginning, and it's something I still use to this day. Even if I don't use the setup itself, I still look at these closing highs and lows as confirmation for the move to continue down or continue up. Because as you see, it does work a lot of times, near enough every single time. If it's with your bias, it will work quite often. Because as you can see right here, it's also working here. And kind of what you would wait for if this was to continue down. I've not really marked anything. Yeah, this level is already here. This level is already here. All these levels already here. But you can kind of tell by looks that it's trying to continue that movement down for the day until you see a lot of things such as constantly closing highs, closing high time frame levels, closing maybe like a 15-minute high or something. Until then, you can only really remain bearish. So until you see a lot of things change in that direction, don't randomly switch your direction, and just because you saw one high get closed or one low get closed. It has to do a lot more than that, because that was something I used to struggle with for a long time. Was I'd be bullish all day, and then we would close the most just useless low going. For example, just the most interior low going, like for example this. Not saying this won't go down from here, but closing that and just going, okay, yeah, we're going to short now. Well, what it's really doing is, returning back to these disorder block or something, and it's just going to continue on. And I used to get really stuck in that, kind of in that loop of seeing the most interior thing close, and then just saying, oh yeah, exteriorly, everything's changed now, because a 1 minute low got closed. But anyway, we're going to just jump into the trading, because I've re-recorded this so many times now. I'm just gonna have to explain what the reasoning behind this video is. It's just doing the simple stuff and just trying to make a $200. So you're trying to make $200 5 times as quick as possible, because that's kind of what you want to do when you pass the Express account. Because once you make those 5 days of 200, that's when you can start withdrawing money, and it does take a lot of the stress out of it. Once you've paid like the $150 plus whatever it is monthly for the account. So let's that take you about three months to pass. It's probably about 200. No, it wouldn't. It would be about $300 to get this account. So what you kind of want to do is try and get those $200 5 times. Withdraw that money that it took you, the amount of money it took to pass, and then the account basically becomes free. Every trade after that, win or lose, you're not losing anything. The only thing you're really losing is time. But the money once you get it back, it does take a lot of the stress out of caring if you're going to win or lose in each trade, because you're not really losing anything, like I said, other than time. But yeah, we'll start doing some trades here. You can see this is quite a obvious trade, like I was saying. You know, you close this low, comes back up to the order block. The pattern just continues, right? You close lows, you close more exterior lows. All it does really is close lows, return to the highest point of that range, or it's normally either the bearish order block or whatever the highest fair value gap is. Then after that, it just continues down. It's quite likely that this happens near enough all the time. Obviously not all the time, but a lot of the times when you're looking for confirmation, and your direction is, you know, let's say your direction was up here, clearly it was, but once you start seeing like the interior highs closing, interior highs closing, you can only remain bullish. And what that normally does is that will cycle you all the way up until the exterior direction can play out. For example, if it was moving down in this scenario, right, we close this low, we know it has to return to this range. So this is where I would remain bullish until we get back to that range. Once we get to the top of that range, that's where I'd flip and go, okay, if I still think this can go down, this is where it had to return. Once we get here, let me take a shot to go down. Obviously it doesn't go all the way down, but that's kind of where it had to return if you kind of wanted it to continue, which it did do in that moment. I'm just sure it started testing high time frame levels down here. I'm sure this low was something that was tested in that moment, which kind of turned the tables in direction. So if that is true, right, hit a high time frame level, flip this upside down, it's the same thing. You know, we close these highs, which created this low. Price will continue down to that bottom of the range, and then from there we'll proceed up. It's just everywhere. Look, higher has to proceed, has to come back down to there. Closes this, where does it go? It goes back to here. Closes this, where does it go? It sweeps this range, goes back to here. It's kind of, it shows like you have your stop loss in the right position every time, and you'll make something. So anyway, we will go into some new trades here. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. So we missed a whole move down because I was explaining that, but like I said, it's just pretty simple what's going to happen here, right? Take that with this whole thing that happened here. You know, close this low, comes up to hold this order block. You either get the test off of that, and just that's always going to be, if the trade does work out, that's going to be the best stop loss, because it's gonna make sure you don't get this interior move with your stop loss here, and then something comes to sweep that and then goes down. It's going to be a lot less likely that happens if you have your stop loss at the high of that bearish order block. But the only thing off of that is taking it straight off of this. You've not really got any confirmation yet if this will hold. Whereas once you get, you know, what tested it, you gain that. That's where you get more confirmation. So to kind of counter that, if you think, you know, a lot of times that does happen where you get this type of entry, and then a few candles later it sweeps your entry and then goes down. What you'd want to do is you would want to have your stop loss at that bearish order block higher, because then that will kind of account for everything in that range. You'll be in the trade and you would be able to. It's a lot less risky. But if you don't really care about getting stopped out, then you take the more the new information and have your stop loss above that new information. So right here was you swept, double sweep, and then you test into that order block, and then you gain this order block for this range. So once you gain that, you could have near enough got that straight away. As you can see in this black candle, we tested below that. So what we could do there is you would either go for the order block open, midpoint of the order block, whatever you would want in that range, go for. Just don't go for the most greedy thing. You can also wait for this to close, because this is kind of the low before we moved up to there, right? Or you could say it's this really, because I mean last downwards movement before up. So look at this one. Yeah, once you close it, you get the retest of it. The thing is though, with the type of moves where you're getting the re-entry off the low closing, this is one of the most stupid stop loss going, but it's the type of stuff I used to do. I'd look for that low candle if this was an aggressive move, and then I'd have something like this where the moment it closes I'd have my stop loss above that candle, which is okay, but a lot of the times it's just, it doesn't account for anything, because we're saying you can't push back up to there before you go or anything, because like I said, you're not accounting for any movement up here. You're only accounting for half of this range, which is, it's not really that effective, is it? You're not gonna win a lot of trades if your stop loss is half the range in a small range like this is. It's more so like trying to cut corners, for example, taking the midpoint of this wick and just having your stop loss here instead of at the bottom of the candle. You're trying to cut corners and it's going to be a lot more risky. I am going to just pause on what I was saying for a second here, because we go back to here or whatever I was saying about thinking hitting a high time frame level. We closed the exterior low just like this move. I can say this is going to be bullish until we get back up to this range. So take the same thing and put it here. I'm going to think we can remain bullish until we can get back to this range. So until we see something good here, we will stay with saying it's going to be bearish until we can start to see this move hold to be bullish, to move back up to this higher range. And yeah, this is why until you see something of importance, you remain bullish. There was no reason to say this is a long. Didn't close the old low, which is kind of low. Obviously made this whole move up. We rejected it. We took a internal sweep. In no world would you try and long that. You need more information than that to take a long. So what you could do is start looking for a short. Can only do 2 minis here if we're risking 50. But another thing that kind of solidify this short here is if we close that, it returned here. You don't have to close this just because how much information is up here. You don't need every single piece of information to get in, but you can already tell like we're rejecting higher. We're getting underneath the daily level. Considering the direction is down anyway. If we don't return to this range, it's going to be a lot more of a faster pace move, meaning we can get this continue down straight away. Whereas if we get this, it's going to be another kind of slow leg down, like how it normally looks, where we will come up, we'll test it, we'll do this kind of like this until you get to that point where it can finally drop down. And that's why a lot of bearish moves do just rip down, whereas bullish moves take a lot longer to start moving, because a lot of the times you always return to the top of the ranges, sorry, the bottom of the ranges before you continue the up movement. It's very rare where you will actually, in a bullish move, kind of go straight off the high and then just rocket up. It doesn't happen that often. Oh, I didn't realise I still had this on. That's my bad. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. The only thing I was saying about is, if you wanted to wait for everything, which you don't have to, you could have waited for this low to go. Also, I think something you would have to take into account as well is like an ATT is going to be created. So, if you're moving down already, and it's 11, and you want to take a short, I probably wouldn't, because that could just be creating a low to then continue up. But then again, you'd have to wait to see if it's low, because what we could be doing is this pushing us up, and then the 12 candle could just be the ATT to continue us down. But as this 13 is higher than the 12, I would say this is the ATT. If I was paying attention, I wouldn't have been in this trade, just because of the ATT. That's not saying this still can't work out, but it's going to be a lot less likely now, considering an ATT just got put in. And we also didn't close that. We could say this was a sweep, which will break us above here, meaning this trade is a lot less likely to work out now, just because of the things that happened in the last few minutes. But the only reason I've not cancelled this trade yet is because we did reject off of this big wick, which obviously kind of retested this range here. We so haven't been able to close above this old low in a substantial way. Like, obviously it did barely, but it's not that obvious, right? So what we'll do here is we'll stick in this. We'll stick in this, see if we can get at least the $50 out. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention as well is just trying to look up, you know, what if you're losing 50 a trade, try and look up 50 if you can, because when you're first starting, it's going to be quite hard for you to get through or that often at all. So to kind of cancel that out, all the losing, trying to get 3R, just try and go for, you know, 1 or 2R. Because while you're trying to go for 3R, if the likelihood of you getting it from all like the trades you've recorded, you've got 3R about 4 times. The percentage of trades you get 3R is so low that you shouldn't be targeting 3R. You should go into a trade anticipating it's going to 3R. But if 1R shows itself, and it's in a moment where it's like, okay, we've closed this, we think it's probably going to close that, try and return back up here to then go down. Why can't you look up that 1R and get a re-entry here, which would be 10 times better than staying in the first trade? Being break even or still at negative 1R, this coming up. And even if it does work out, and yeah, you still would have won, obviously, but if you took profit here, re-entered here, you would be up $50, risking $50. If this trade fails, the second one, you'll break even now. If this trade also fails and you're still in that first one, you'd be down -50. So it kind of gives you a chance to double your profits, and it's also a lot more safer than staying in a long-term thing, locking up nothing, that failing, you being down -1 after the day, over the second option, which is 2 trades. And the thing is, if this one works out as well, you've had the pullback already. The pullback shouldn't happen again. You're at $50. We're saying that next trade won't go down $100 or $150, because it can. And then if that was the case, that would be a $200 day finished, meaning now you only have to get 4 more to then start withdrawing the money. So do whatever it takes for you to get those first 5 days of 200, and then kind of reassess what you want to do. But I think it's always going to be safer at the start. If you can't lock up a good amount, just lock up 1 or each time that you're in a trade, and then maybe try and get a re-entry off of the same trade when it has a pullback. Or just look up anything and try and get a re-entry, right? So like that, you got $50. Now what's saying I can't get a re-entry off this bearish order block if it closes? So let's try that. We closed out. If it gets a retest back up into this range, then you'd be in 2 trades. If this misses us, creates this as a bullish candle, we reject off of this, then we can also get that. So we're not going to move our entry here. There we go. So even if we lose this, it doesn't matter, because that first trade, we would lose and be negative $47 to $50. Where this one will now be, break even on -$1 or $2 or something. So I think there's going to be the benefit of trying to go for the re-entry after closing the low, taking profits at that low, closing the low, retesting into the range, getting the same, near enough the same trade down. And there we go. Just like that, getting the first trade, looking at 50, trying again. Look at the outcome. You'd only be up at most, whatever that went to, about 63 in his first trade. I think it was actually a bit higher, but you get my point. Going for the first trade, locking it up, getting a re-entry, it's going to be a lot better. And who's to say you couldn't have done that again? Locked up 50 or something, closed this low, re-enter here, to then continue it down again. Which personally I think I would have done if I was doing that. The simple and what's going to make you money faster type way. Because the thing is, you closed out, you could have got a third entry. If that one fails, doesn't matter. Now you've locked up one or whatever. That's what you should be doing. Take simple targets, even if it's very close. It doesn't matter. The closer, the easier. If you're a newer trader as well, it's going to be harder for you to get these trades to go further down. So take the ones that don't have to go that far down, because you could have got this targeting this that isn't far at all. And that's what will make you money fast. So, yeah, you could have got 3 trades there, right? Close that again. All the block, taking it again. Easiest target. It's just easy. It's really easy stuff. It really is. But what we do right now is, because we close that low, we would move this to here now. If we're still trying to go for the exterior target. If we wasn't, and we were just trying to look up the 50, obviously we would have been out ages ago, and that's why we would have been able to get the third trade as well. The more easiest targets you get, the more wins you'll get. The more exterior targets you get, the more break even and losses you'll get. Unless you're really, really patient, and the whole time you're just at -1R. Which I think is a stupid idea. A lot of the time, especially scalping. If you're doing like an investment or a long-term trade, then yeah, you would be at this -1R, for hours until you finally hit your target. That's kind of what long-term trades are. You're okay with losing the 1R, and even if this was what happened, you wouldn't get out. You would only get out when it hits your target. But scalping is not really like that. So we're gonna look at scalping now, because it's about to be 230 as well. So we could either get a lot out of this, or we would just get stopped out kind of immediately here. We will actually be looking at that 50 if this is to come up, because of the time. This can just rip up, can also rip down. So there's movement down, it'll probably move up. We will just try this to here if it tests this range. Whenever it moves down, if it does. Which it doesn't, it stops you at 50. Which is why you kind of, 230, you kind of want to just take your profits and leave before 230 happens. Because yeah, you might be able to get more out of it, but at the same time, if you're up a lot, that could just get completely diminished within a minute, which it did. We could obviously taken our I think it's $100 and something and been done with it, which is something I would do anyway. But kind of the main point of this whole video is just to show you reasons and behind why you should do things and why you shouldn't do other things. Trading at exactly 230, or being in trade at exactly 230, until you're at the point where you can get direction right quite often, you want to just break even. But yeah, I'll leave it as the first video there, until I accidentally go too in depth, and then I'll probably record another one within the same session actually. So yeah.